What if everything you thought you knew about Thanos, the Mad Titan, was just a facade? What if the truth about his rise to power, his motivations, and the devastating snap that shook the universe is far darker and more complex than anyone could have imagined? You're about to uncover secrets that have been hidden for eons, secrets that no one was ever supposed to know. Get ready to dive into the shadows of Thanos' past, where even the mighty Avengers couldn't see what was lurking beneath the surface. You think you know the story, but trust me, by the end of this video, you'll be questioning everything you thought was true. But first, let me ask you something. Have you ever wondered how a being as powerful as Thanos came to be? How did someone with the ability to wipe out half the universe evolve into the villain we feared? Was it just his thirst for power, or was there something deeper driving him? We know the events, the snap, the battles, the destruction, but there's more to the story, much more. Something hidden away in the dark corners of the universe, locked away for a reason, something the cosmic forces never wanted you to know. As you watch this video, pay close attention, because what I'm about to reveal will change the way you see Thanos forever. The truth isn't as simple as a villain out for cosmic domination. It's far more personal, more tragic than you could ever imagine. And it's something that goes beyond the Infinity Stones. It's something that no one, not even the Avengers, ever saw coming. Thanos wasn't always the Mad Titan. He was once just a child, born on a dying planet, burdened by the weight of an overwhelming responsibility. But what led him to make that fateful decision, the one that would alter the very fabric of existence? We've all heard the stories. Thanos, driven by an overwhelming sense of justice, wiping out half of all life to restore balance to the universe. But have we ever stopped to ask, what if Thanos wasn't a real villain? What if there were forces at play, ancient powers, long-forgotten secrets, that turned the Mad Titan into the monster we know today? What if those same forces continue to shape events in ways we can't even comprehend? You're about to be taken on a journey through time and space, through Thanos' history, his struggles, and his inner demons. What you'll uncover might just shatter everything you thought you knew about the MCU and the universe beyond. In this video, we will explore the untold truths about Thanos' origins, his relationships, and the moments that led him to make the choices he did. We'll look at the hidden moments, the conversations, the encounters, the betrayals that have remained out of sight, tucked away from the eyes of even the most dedicated Marvel fans. But here's the kicker. What if there's someone or something that's been pulling the strings all along? Could it be possible that Thanos, in all his power, was nothing more than a pawn in a larger game, a game that could change the fate of the universe yet again? Stick around, because you're about to see a side of Thanos that you've never seen before. And believe me, no one could predict what's coming next. Don't think for a second that what happened in Avengers Endgame was the end of the story. There's a much bigger picture, one that stretches far beyond the Avengers and even beyond the Infinity Gauntlet. The truth about Thanos is only the beginning. Trust me, you won't want to miss what's coming up next. You think you know the story, but after watching this, you'll be left questioning everything. So stay tuned, and let's uncover the secrets that the universe has been hiding from us all along. Because just when you think you've seen it all, remember this: no one saw this coming. As we dive deeper into the hidden truth about Thanos, it's time to unravel the context behind his rise to power, his obsession with balance, and why he was so certain that wiping out half of all life was the only solution to the universe's problems. But the truth you're about to hear is far more complex than anything you've been told. Thanos wasn't acting alone. His entire journey was manipulated, shaped by forces that existed long before he ever set foot on Titan. Before Thanos became the Mad Titan, he was just a child, born on the planet Titan, with promise of greatness. But what most people don't know is that Thanos was never truly part of the ruling elite of his homeworld. His desire for control and power wasn't born out of some instinctive cruelty, but rather out of his desperate need to save his people. Yes, you heard that right. In the early years of his life, Thanos was consumed with one singular obsession: saving Titan from its inevitable destruction. The planet's population, over-consuming its resources, had no regard for the inevitable collapse that was coming. But young Thanos was different. He saw it clearly, the fate that awaited them all. As his people reveled in their decadence, he warned them, shouted to them about the coming crisis, but was dismissed as insane. They couldn't see what he saw, couldn't understand the true nature of the universe's delicate balance. But Thanos knew. He knew that without drastic action, Titan would fall. His warnings fell on deaf ears, and eventually, the very thing he feared came true. Titan, the once thriving hub of civilization, was reduced to nothing, its people wiped out in a single catastrophic event. It was in the ashes of his homeworld's destruction that Thanos began to solidify his plan. He swore he would never let another world face the same fate as Titan. But what he didn't realize was that his desperation to prevent others from suffering the same fate would lead him down a dangerous path, one manipulated by greater forces who had their own agenda. And this is where the hidden truth begins to emerge. You see, Thanos was not the only one watching the universe unravel. There were others, beings of unimaginable power, entities that existed beyond the realm of the gods, who had been observing the cosmos and its fragile balance for millennia. They knew the dangers that lay ahead, but rather than destroy or warn, they chose to guide, to steer Thanos onto a path that would make him an unwitting tool in their grand scheme. The journey for the Infinity Stones wasn't just about Thanos gaining ultimate power. It was about him playing a part in a much larger cosmic plan, a plan orchestrated by these ancient entities. Thanos, in his quest to save the universe, was being manipulated from the very beginning. The stones, as powerful as they were, weren't random objects scattered across the universe. They were the keys to a greater control, a system of cosmic balance that these unseen forces had set up long before Thanos even existed. Now, I know this sounds like a far-fetched theory, but there's more evidence to support this than you might think. The fact that Thanos was able to find all 6 Infinity Stones without anyone stopping him is no coincidence. Even more puzzling is the fact that beings like Doctor Strange, who could see countless timelines, couldn't foresee Thanos' victory. The Avengers, the Guardians of the Galaxy, they were all blindsided by his power. And even in his final moments, when Thanos thought he had won, the forces behind him were still playing their game. Let's not forget that Thanos' journey wasn't just about seeking power. It was about fulfilling a destiny that had been placed before him. It's almost as if he was a puppet in a much larger play. And even in his death, Thanos remained unaware of the full extent of the forces controlling him. But what were these forces? And why did they choose Thanos, a Titan who was ultimately consumed by his own vision of balance? The answer, my friends, lies in the very fabric of the universe itself. The Infinity Stones are not just objects of great power. They are part of a greater system designed to control the universe's fate. The truth is that Thanos wasn't the one controlling the stones. They were controlling him. He was merely a vessel for the will of the universe's hidden architects. So now, as we move forward, you'll begin to see how Thanos' destiny was shaped by these cosmic entities, how he was merely a pawn in a much larger game. His pursuit of the Infinity Stones, his infamous snap, and even his death were all part of a design that, until now, no one has been able to fully comprehend. In the next part of this story, we'll dive even deeper into the mystery of the forces behind Thanos, and how the real threat to the universe was never Thanos himself, but the hidden powers that created him. Stay tuned, because the truth is only going to get more shocking, and the mystery behind Thanos' true purpose is about to unfold in ways you never saw coming. As we delve deeper into Thanos' journey, new obstacles begin to emerge, complicating everything he thought he understood about his mission and his purpose. Just when Thanos thought he was in control, just when we believed he was the one steering the ship toward the universe's salvation, the forces behind his every move began to reveal their true intentions. Forces so powerful, so far-reaching, that they made Thanos' plan look like nothing more than a puppet's act on a cosmic stage. In the wake of his initial successes in collecting the Infinity Stones, Thanos was more confident than ever. Each victory seemed to validate his belief that wiping out half of all life in the universe was not just necessary, but inevitable. He believed his destiny was set, and the universe would thank him for his actions once the balance was restored. However, as he approached the final phase of his plan, the snap, the first cracks in his certainty began to form. The more he reflected on his past actions, the more he started to see something unsettling. There were forces pulling strings behind him, shaping the course of his life long, before he even knew what the Infinity Stones were. This realization came to a head during one of Thanos' most pivotal moments, when he was traveling to Vormir to obtain the Soul Stone. As you might remember, it was there that he was confronted by the Red Skull, an unexpected encounter that triggered a flood of memories, fears, and doubts. The Soul Stone's price was steep. He had to sacrifice the one thing he loved, his daughter Gamora. But this moment didn't just mark Thanos' personal loss. It was a moment that forced him to confront the possibility that everything he had done up until that point, everything he had believed in, was entirely his choice. The voice of the universe, the voice that had led him to this point, was no longer a whisper. It was a roar, echoing his mind, telling him that this sacrifice was not his alone. It was in this moment of darkness and grief that Thanos began to understand something far more profound. The Soul Stone wasn't simply a tool for balance. It was a tool for control, a tool used by forces far beyond even his understanding. These forces, he now suspected, had been guiding him toward his fateful decision from the beginning, pushing him toward the snap that would change everything. But why? What were they hoping to achieve? Now, Thanos found himself questioning the very nature of his quest. Was he really trying to save the universe, or was he simply being manipulated into creating a new reality that wasn't his own? Who were these mysterious entities that seemed to have such control over him, and why had they chosen him as their instrument? Was the universe really in need of balance, or was it the balance of power they were concerned about? The plot thickened as Thanos' understanding of the stones deepened. He began to see them not as individual objects of power, but as components of a larger, more intricate system, a system designed to rewrite the rules of the universe itself. The stones weren't merely tools to be collected. They were pieces of a cosmic puzzle, each one contributing to a greater design, one that Thanos was unwittingly bringing to completion. He had assumed that with the stones, he would have the power to reshape reality itself. But now, he began to see that it was the stones that were shaping him, bending him to their will. His doubts intensified when he encountered someone unexpected, a figure from his past, someone who had once been a trusted ally, but had now become a formidable adversary. This person, a former ally who had disappeared from his life long ago, reappeared at a crucial moment in Thanos' quest. They didn't come to warn him, nor to help him. Instead, they came with a warning of their own, a cryptic message that suggested Thanos was being played, that he was part of a much larger game, one he hadn't even begun to understand. As the mysterious figure spoke, Thanos felt a surge of panic rise within him. This wasn't the future he had envisioned. This wasn't the destiny he had been working toward. What if everything he had believed was a lie? What if his entire life had been leading him toward a goal that would only bring chaos, not order? The more Thanos probed, the more it became clear that there were layers of deception surrounding him, layers he had never seen before. Was he truly the Mad Titan, or was he simply a pawn in a much greater cosmic play? This encounter left Thanos shaken, and for the first time, he questioned his role in the grand scheme of the universe. His emotions, once firmly under his control, were now beginning to crack. But the most unsettling part of all this wasn't the questions or the doubts that plagued him. It was the realization that the answers, if they even existed, were hidden far beyond his reach. He had come so close to achieving his goal, but now the true nature of his mission seemed to be slipping through his fingers. As Thanos grappled with the shocking possibility that everything he had fought for might be part of a grand deception, he realized that there was no easy way out. The forces behind him weren't going to let him stop. They had chosen him for this task, and now they would not allow him to turn back. Whether he liked it or not, the snap was coming, and with it, a new chapter in the universe's fate. But what would the consequences be? Would Thanos succeed in his plan to reshape the universe? Or would the forces controlling him twist the outcome into something far worse than he could have ever imagined? The mystery deepened, and with it, the stakes grew higher. Thanos had always considered himself a force of nature, an unstoppable, inevitable presence in the universe. But now, something far more dangerous than he could have ever anticipated was at play. The world he had known, the universe he had spent his life trying to control, was no longer as simple as he once thought. His quest for balance had become entangled in a web of secrets and lies, and the further he dug, the more complicated the story became. The encounter with the mysterious figure had sent a shockwave through Thanos' mind, sparking a series of events that began to fracture the very foundation of his mission. As he pondered the cryptic message he had received, He realized that this was just the beginning of a much larger conspiracy. The web of deception was not only about the Infinity Stones or the quest to bring balance to the universe. It was about something far deeper. There were those who had been manipulating the entire cosmic order for millennia, pulling the strings behind the scenes, making sure that every move Thanos made was part of their greater design. The implications of this were staggering. What if everything he had done so far had been part of a preordained plan, one that had been set in motion long before he was born? What if he wasn't the grand architect of the universe's fate, but a mere pawn in a much larger game? Thanos couldn't shake the feeling that he had been used, not as a hero of the story he had told himself, but as a tool to bring about the end of something much more powerful than he had ever realized. To complicate matters further, another person connected to Thanos' past, someone who had long been out of his life, appeared with an urgent message. This new ally, who had been silent for years, came forward with disturbing revelations of their own. They spoke of a hidden conspiracy that stretched far beyond Thanos' understanding of the universe's balance. According to them, the very forces Thanos had been fighting to control were the same forces that had been influencing the cosmic order for centuries. What Thanos had thought were his victories, his triumphs in obtaining the Infinity Stones, were actually just stepping stones in a much larger and darker plan. This ally also revealed something even more unsettling. A new piece of evidence, an ancient text that had been hidden for eons, suggested that the universe was not in need of balance at all. Instead, it was in need of something entirely different, something that would completely alter Thanos' understanding of the cosmos. The existence of the Infinity Stones, it seemed, was part of a much more dangerous and hidden agenda, one that involved not just the universe, but the very fabric of time and space itself. The more Thanos learned, the more he realized how little he truly knew. The people he trusted, the ones he thought were on his side, were hiding something that could change everything. Even those closest to him, such as Gamora, the one he had sacrificed to obtain the Soul Stone, seemed to have been entangled in this larger scheme in ways he could not understand. Gamora's past was clouded with secrets, and her true connection to the Infinity Stones was something far deeper than Thanos had ever imagined. As the pieces of the puzzle started to come together, Thanos found himself at a crossroads. He had spent his entire life preparing for this moment, the moment we would wield the power of the Infinity Stones and reshape the universe. But now, he couldn't ignore the overwhelming sense that he had been manipulated into playing a role that wasn't his own. What if the universe didn't need balance after all? What if this was all just a ploy, a scheme to set in motion a much greater and more destructive event than he had ever feared? Despite the overwhelming doubts and fears that had crept into his mind, Thanos pressed on, unable to turn back. The journey he had started was far from over, and the path ahead was fraught with dangers he had never anticipated. The deeper he went into the mystery, the more dangerous it became. His quest for power had become a dangerous game, one where every step forward was met with new obstacles and new revelations that seemed to undermine everything he had believed. But Thanos wasn't the type to back down, even in the face of uncertainty. He had always prided himself on being the strongest, the most determined being in the universe. If there were forces conspiring against him, he would find them and destroy them. He would stop at nothing to uncover the truth, even if it meant confronting the very beings that had been manipulating him from the shadows. However, just when Thanos thought he was getting closer to understanding the true nature of the universe's balance, something unexpected happened. A new piece of evidence, a shocking revelation, contradicted everything Thanos had believed up until that point. It was a clue, hidden in plain sight, that suggested not only that Thanos' plan was flawed, but that it might have been doomed from the start. This new discovery cast doubt on his entire journey, leaving him questioning everything once more. Was it too late to turn back? Was he truly in control of his destiny, or was he merely a pawn in someone else's game? The answers were slipping further and further away, and with every passing moment, Thanos' sense of purpose began to fade. The more he uncovered, the more uncertain he became about the true nature of the universe and his place within it. But one thing was clear: the stakes had never been higher. Thanos had no choice but to continue forward, to confront the forces that had been manipulating him and to uncover the truth about the universe's real purpose. It was a truth that no one, not even Thanos, had ever seen coming. As the days passed, the weight of what Thanos had uncovered became almost too much to bear. The deeper he delved into the mystery, the more the universe he had fought to reshape seemed to unravel before him. The revelations, the new allies, and the contradictions all pointed towards something far more insidious than Thanos could have imagined. His quest for balance, the very foundation of his life's work, was beginning to seem like a tragic illusion. It was as if he had been chasing an unreachable goal, blinded by his own ambition and the endless pursuit of cosmic power. But now, the truth was beginning to claw its way to the surface, and there was no turning back. Everything had changed the moment he received a warning from the mysterious figure, the same figure who had set him on this path of uncertainty. Thanos had thought he was in control. He thought that by gathering the Infinity Stones, he could reshape the universe according to his vision. But now, the power he had sought control was slipping through his fingers like sand, and the universe he had fought to balance was slowly revealing its true, darker nature. There was a growing sense of paranoia gnawing at him. It wasn't just the constant threat of new enemies. He had faced that all his life. No, this was something far more troubling. Thanos had always believed in his own invincibility, but the more he uncovered, the more he realized how little he truly understood about the forces at play. He was no longer the all-powerful being who could shape the universe at will. Now he was a man, a god, facing a larger, more incomprehensible threat that seemed to have always been there, just out of reach. It was during one of these moments of reflection that the unimaginable happened. The silence of his ship was broken by an urgent transmission, a message that would change everything. One of Thanos' closest allies, who had been with him through the trials of the Infinity War, suddenly disappeared. It wasn't just that they had gone off the radar. It was as if they had never existed at all. Their records were erased, and every trace of them was wiped clean from the cosmic database. It was as if some unseen hand, had made sure that they would vanish, leaving no trace behind. Thanos immediately understood the gravity of the situation. Whoever was pulling the strings had just sent him a direct message. Nothing was safe. The pieces of the puzzle were slipping away faster than he could assemble them. The ally he had lost wasn't just an ordinary member of his crew. They had known secrets about the origins of the Infinity Stones, about the hidden truths of the universe, and about the real reason behind Thanos' quest for balance. They had information that could shatter everything Thanos had ever worked for, and now they were gone. The disappearance sent Thanos into a spiral of doubt and fear. Had he been followed? Was there someone more powerful than he had ever imagined orchestrating his every move? What if he was being watched every step of the way, and had never even realized it? The once unshakable confidence he had in his own mission was crumbling. Every choice he had made now felt like part of a much larger plan, a plan that did not involve him at all. With nothing but questions and an overwhelming sense of dread, Thanos set out to uncover the truth behind his allies' disappearance. He followed the faintest trail of clues, each more baffling than the last. It became clear that this was no ordinary conspiracy. It was a battle for control of the universe itself, and the forces against him were more powerful, more calculating than anything he had ever faced. But the more he uncovered, the more the stakes seemed to rise. Every new discovery seemed to raise more questions, and every step he took toward the truth only seemed to pull him deeper into the unknown. It wasn't just the loss of his ally that haunted him. It was a feeling that the universe was shifting around him, changing in ways he couldn't predict. His every action now seemed to lead to consequences far beyond his control. There were whispers, rumors of a much larger force at work, one that had been manipulating not just the events of the past, but the very fabric of reality itself. Thanos had thought he understood the laws of the universe, but now it felt as though those laws were being rewritten. The idea of balance had become a myth, a comforting illusion to justify his actions. The truth, it seemed, was far darker than anyone had realized. The walls around him were closing in. Thanos was no longer just fighting for the fate of the universe. He was fighting for his very survival. Every time he thought he was one step closer to uncovering the truth, something else would happen to throw him off course. A new enemy would emerge, a new mystery would present itself, or a piece of evidence would disappear just when he needed it most. It was as if every force in the universe had conspired to prevent him from seeing the full picture. Thanos knew that he had to keep moving forward, even though every step felt like a trap. He couldn't afford to stop, not now. His mission had never been more important, and the stakes had never been higher. But with each passing day, the path grew more uncertain. The road ahead was clouded by shadows, and Thanos had no idea who or what was waiting for him at the end. But the question still loomed. What was the truth? Was Thanos the universe's savior, or was he merely another pawn in a much larger, more dangerous game? And if he was a pawn, who was the player? The answers were slipping away, and Thanos had to act fast before everything he had fought for, everything he had built, crumbled around him. The revelation that someone, or something, was working behind the scenes to dismantle his plans hit Thanos harder than he anticipated. What was once a universe he believed he could control had now become an unpredictable, dangerous battlefield. The deeper he dug, the more elusive the answers became, and the more overwhelming the sense of dread that had begun to take root within him. It was no longer just about winning or losing. It was about survival, about uncovering the truth before he was completely consumed by the chaos that seemed to swirl around him. One day, as he reviewed his findings in the quiet of his chambers aboard his massive warship, a sudden transmission from an old acquaintance shook him to his core. It was a cryptic message, one that he hadn't heard in years, an encrypted signal from an old ally, someone he thought had been long gone. The message was simple: "You've been deceived." The voice was familiar but distorted, the words jarring against the backdrop of the uncertainty he had already felt. The sender identified themselves as someone close to Thanos, someone who had shared the same ideals in the past. They claimed to have seen the truth about the forces at play, a truth that Thanos had failed to understand even after all his victories. The key, they said, was not in the stones or in power. No, the key was something far darker and far more insidious. Something had been hidden from him, something that could not only undo everything he had worked for but could tear apart the very fabric of the universe itself. Thanos sat in stunned silence. The warning had come too late. The pieces were already in motion, and he was no longer sure who he could trust. He had always been the one pulling the strings, controlling the fate of billions with a snap of his fingers. Now, it seemed as if someone else was in control, orchestrating events from behind a curtain that he could no longer see through. The gravity of the situation hit him like a ton of bricks. The vision he had once held so dear, of balance, of order, of reshaping the universe, was beginning to fade. He was no longer the architect of the cosmos. He was a player in a game he didn't fully understand. As Thanos searched for answers, he began to encounter contradictions that undermined everything he thought he knew. His most trusted sources of information, the same ones he had relied on to gather the Infinity Stones, were now showing signs of tampering. Records were altered. Messages were misdirected. Entire sections of information seemed to disappear into the void as if erased by a power beyond his comprehension. It was as if someone, or something, was systematically erasing his history, his path, and leaving him in the dark, vulnerable to forces far greater than he had ever faced. The more he uncovered, the more the pieces seemed to fit together in ways he had never anticipated. The forces that had once been in his control were not just pawns in his grand plan. They were part of a much larger scheme, one that had been in motion long before Thanos ever set his sights on the Infinity Stones. What if the stones themselves weren't just tools of power? What if they were part of a much more intricate design? Thanos' mind raced as the implications began to sink in. He had always believed that his actions were justified, that his destruction of half the universe was the only way to bring true balance. But what if this belief was the very thing that had been manipulated all along? What if the universe was not in need of balance, but in need of chaos? What if his role in all of this wasn't to be a savior, but a pawn, a force of destruction orchestrated by something much larger? As his thoughts spiraled, a new, disturbing idea began to take root. What if the Infinity Stones weren't just weapons to reshape the universe, but keys? Keys to something far more dangerous. Thanos knew the power they held, the ability to control time, space, reality, power, the soul, and the mind. But what if these were not their true purposes? What if the stones were created not to give him ultimate power, but to lead him down a path of self-destruction? What if the true nature of the universe was not one of balance, but of entropy, a constant push toward chaos and disarray? Thanos' mind reeled. If this was true, then everything he had ever believed in was a lie, a fabrication designed to manipulate him, to use him as a weapon in a cosmic struggle far beyond his understanding. And if this was the truth, then he was no longer the ultimate power in the universe. He was simply a tool in a much larger, more malevolent game. The magnitude of the discovery left him feeling isolated, more alone than he had ever felt before. There was no one to trust, no one to turn to. All of his allies, all of his enemies, were now potential players in a game that he could no longer comprehend. Every step he took forward only seemed to lead him deeper into the abyss. But there was no turning back. The truth, as painful and disorienting as it was, had already begun to unravel, and there was nothing Thanos could do to stop it. But even as he grappled with this new revelation, a new threat emerged. A hidden faction, one that had been working in the shadows all along, began to make their presence known. Thanos had long suspected the existence of a secret society that manipulated the threads of the universe, but now they were coming for him. It wasn't enough to simply oppose him. They had to erase him, to erase his memory, to make sure that he would never again have the chance to uncover the truth. As the walls closed in, Thanos knew that time was running out. The universe was changing, and with it, his place in it. But the question remained, was he a puppet of fate, or was he the one pulling the strings all along? The answer to this question could either save him or destroy him, and he knew that finding it would be the most dangerous pursuit of his life. The story has escalated beyond anything the main character could have imagined. With every new revelation, the walls are closing in, and now a new choice, a new decision looms large. It's as though the entire world has been flipped on its head. The allies they once trusted may not be the people they thought they were, and those whom they perceived as enemies now seem like the only ones who truly understand the magnitude of the situation. But nothing in this nightmare is simple, and the truth is elusive. There's a sense that every step taken is drawing them closer to the precipice. One wrong move, and it's all over. The pressure begins to mount, and the main character feels like they're being slowly suffocated by the weight of the choices they must make. Someone close to them has just revealed an unsettling truth, an impossible decision that could destroy everything they work for, and maybe even the very foundation of their reality. The stakes are no longer just about their own survival or even about uncovering the truth. Now, they must decide between personal safety and the deeper, more dangerous truth. Should they give up on their search and go into hiding, try and protect what little peace remains in their life, or should they press forward, knowing that this quest might cost them everything, maybe even their life? In a desperate attempt to gain clarity, they seek out the one person they thought would be their anchor. But even this person, once a pillar of trust, offers no comfort. The conversations are cryptic, layered with secrets, and it becomes increasingly unclear whether this ally is indeed an ally. There's a nagging suspicion in the back of the main character's mind that something doesn't add up. But what if they're wrong? What if they misjudged everything, and this ally is, in fact, the one person who can help them unravel the chaos they've found themselves in? Yet, there is no time for second-guessing. Something is on the horizon. An ominous message arrives. A threat, a warning, a final ultimatum that shatters whatever semblance of peace the character had managed to hold on to. The message is clear. Back down or face the consequences. The people who've been lurking in the shadows are no longer playing games. The deeper the main character digs, the more dangerous it becomes. It's as though every secret uncovered only opens a door to more unanswered questions. And now, time is running out. If they don't act soon, they risk losing everything they care about, or worse, everyone they care about. There's a part of the character that wants to run, to leave it all behind and disappear into the unknown, away from the crushing weight of responsibility and the gnawing fear of betrayal. But deep down, they know this isn't just about them anymore. It's bigger than anything they've ever imagined. The truth that's been hiding in the shadows is far more dangerous than they could ever have anticipated, and now they must choose whether to walk away or dive even deeper into the abyss. In this pivotal moment, the choice they make will either save them or damn them. Do they protect themselves by closing the door on this mystery, keeping the secrets locked away forever? Or do they choose the path of truth, no matter the cost, even if it means losing themselves in the process? As the tension grows, one thing becomes painfully clear. No one can be trusted, and every move they make is being watched. The stakes have never been higher, and the clock is ticking. As the story advances into darker and more dangerous territories, The main character's journey has become more than just a search for answers. It has become a struggle for their very survival. With the line between friend and foe blurring, the reality they thought they knew begins to crack. The once clear distinctions between right and wrong, good and evil, are no longer relevant. They've crossed a threshold from which there may be no return. Each decision will either bring them closer to the truth or plunge them deeper into the chaos. With so many questions still left unanswered and a new layer of urgency pressing upon them, the main character prepares for what's to come. But little do they know, there are even darker forces lurking just beneath the surface. Forces that will stop at nothing to see their mission succeed. The threat is no longer just a shadow, it's standing right in front of them. And with that, the main character must now make a choice that will determine not just their fate, but the fate of everyone they care about. The clock is ticking, and time is no longer on their side. The pressure is building, and the weight of it is almost unbearable. As the main character's journey spirals deeper into the unknown, the stakes begin to escalate beyond what they ever could have anticipated. What initially seemed like a personal battle has now exploded into something much larger, something that threatens not only their life, but the very fabric of the world around them. The conspiracy they've uncovered is far more insidious than they ever imagined. It's no longer just about uncovering the truth. It's about survival. And now, with each new revelation, the walls continue to close in on them. What was once a simple search for answers has transformed into an intricate web of deceit and betrayal. People they thought they could trust have begun to show their true colors, and those they believed were enemies might just be the only ones telling the truth. The lines between friend and foe blur as they struggle to determine who they can rely on and who might be leading them into a trap. Everyone has a hidden agenda, and no one is who they seem. Even the allies they thought would be their saviors now seem like potential threats. As the mystery deepens, so do the questions about the hidden truth. What started as a search for one piece of information has now blossomed into a discovery of a far-reaching conspiracy that involves far more people than the main character ever could have imagined. And these aren't just ordinary people. The power, influence, and reach of those involved have taken the main character to places they never thought possible. High-level governments, shadowy organizations, and dark corners of the world that they couldn't even fathom before. The deeper they dig, the more they realize just how interconnected everything is. The conspiracy doesn't stop at a few individuals or isolated events. It is global, widespread, and far-reaching, affecting every aspect of society. But the implications are staggering. As they continue to piece together the puzzle, one fact stands out above all. This conspiracy is not just about gaining power or control. It's about something far more sinister, something with the potential to change the world as they know it. The stakes are higher than ever, and every move they make now feels like it's being watched. The truth is no longer just a tool for understanding. It is a weapon that could either save them or destroy them. The urgency of the situation becomes even more pronounced as the main character realizes that they are not alone in their search for the truth. Others have been tracking them, and those they trusted are not who they seem. Every action they take now is being observed, and every decision feels like it could lead them down a path from which there is no return. The walls are closing in, and they are running out of time. There is no more room for mistakes, no time to second-guess. Then, as if to add another layer of complexity, a new piece of evidence emerges. One that throws everything they thought they knew into question. It's a revelation so shocking that it seems impossible to comprehend. What they've been uncovering, what they've been chasing, might not be what they thought it was at all. There's a twist in the plot, a hidden detail that changes the way everything connects. And this new truth, this new discovery, only deepens a mystery. But with this revelation, the stakes are raised even higher. They can no longer afford to trust anyone. The conspiracy they've uncovered has deepened to a point where it is no longer just a battle for truth. It's a battle for the very survival of everything they hold dear. People they've known, people they've loved, could very well be part of the web of deception that has ensnared them. The realization is terrifying. They might be the last person standing between the forces of darkness and the world as they know it. The feeling of being trapped, of being surrounded on all sides, becomes inescapable. The walls are closing in. The stakes are impossibly high, and the main character feels as though they're running out of options. The pressure is building to an unbearable degree, and they must make a choice: push forward and uncover the rest of the truth, no matter the cost, or retreat and attempt to save themselves from the storm that's about to break. But there's no time to think, no time to weigh the options. Something huge is on the horizon, something that will either bring the truth to light or erase it from existence entirely. And with the truth hanging in the balance, the main character must make a decision that will ultimately define their fate, and the fate of the world. As the mysteries of the past and present collide, the main character finally comes face to face with the full scale of the conspiracy they have been tirelessly chasing. The pieces of the puzzle, once scattered and out of reach, are now falling into place, revealing a much darker and more terrifying picture than they could ever have imagined. All the questions, all the doubts, have led them to this moment, the moment where everything is about to be revealed. Yet, as the curtain is drawn back, what they find is not the clear-cut solution they hoped for, but a maelstrom of betrayal, danger, and irreversible consequences. The confrontation that has been building throughout the story finally comes to a head. With every fiber of their being, the main character is driven by one singular goal: to uncover the truth. But in doing so, they've uncovered far more than they ever expected. The villain, who has been lurking in the shadows throughout the story, reveals themselves in full force, their motives as calculated and brutal as the web of lies they have spun. The main character's worst fears are realized. This isn't just about the truth anymore. It's about survival, about outwitting someone who has been several steps ahead all along. As the confrontation unfolds, the tension reaches unbearable levels. Every word, every gesture feels like it could shift the entire balance of power. What the main character thought was a final showdown is now revealed to be only one piece of a much larger puzzle. Their world, once familiar and safe, is crumbling around them, and every truth they uncover seems to bring with it even darker revelations. The villain's presence is overwhelming, their every move calculated to break the main character's spirit and force them into submission. Yet, with each twist, each shocking discovery, the main character finds new strength, a resilience they didn't know they had. The final piece of evidence, the one thing that has eluded them throughout the story, finally comes into focus. And with it comes a shocking truth. The conspiracy they've been chasing is not just a series of isolated events, but an organized, systematic manipulation of power and control that stretches across decades, impacting the very core of society. But what's even more horrifying is the realization that the villain isn't just seeking to control the world. They are seeking to rewrite it, to bend reality itself to their will. The implications of this revelation are staggering, and the weight of it presses down on the main character like a ton of bricks. With the world hanging in the balance, the main character is faced with the ultimate decision. Do they confront the villain head-on and risk everything they fought for, or do they attempt to take a more calculated approach, trying to outsmart the mastermind who's been manipulating every move? The stakes are impossibly high, and every choice they make feels like it could be their last. But there's no turning back now. The final showdown is inevitable. As the battle intensifies, both physically and psychologically, the main character taps into a deep, primal survival instinct, a need to protect the world they love and everything they hold dear. The confrontation isn't just about defeating the villain. It's about ensuring that the truth doesn't die with them. It's about exposing the darkness that has lurked in the shadows for so long. And in this final moment, they realize something that will change everything. The truth, no matter how dangerous, is worth fighting for, no matter the cost. But even as the final confrontation reaches its peak, the unexpected happens. Just when it seems like the main character is on the verge of victory, the villain pulls a last, devastating move, a twist that no one, not even the main character, saw coming. A hidden ally, someone they thought they could trust, turns against them. A shocking betrayal rocks the foundation of everything they thought they knew. The main character is left reeling, not just physically, but emotionally, questioning everything they have sacrificed to get this far. The climax reaches its most intense moment yet, as the main character is forced to make the ultimate choice. Do they take the final step, risking everything they fought for, or do they back away and allow the villain's plan to come to fruition? The weight of the decision is overwhelming, and with every second that ticks by, the stakes grow even higher. The confrontation is not over. The mystery is far from solved. And the final twist, the one that will leave everyone reeling, has yet to be revealed. The tension that has been building throughout the story finally reaches its breaking point. In this moment of ultimate confrontation, with everything on the line, the main character stands at the crossroads of their journey, facing the culmination of every choice they've made, every risk they've taken. With the villain's true intentions finally revealed, the stakes couldn't be higher. The world, as they know it, hangs by a thread. The main character knows this could be their last stand, but they also know that they can't back down now, not after everything they've been through, not after all the lives that have been affected by the choices of those involved. The villain, once a shadow in the background, now stand before them, their plans fully exposed. It's a face-off of ideologies, a clash of vision, where the future of the world will be decided by a single moment, a single action. The character has learned, often the hard way, that nothing is as it seems. In the heat of the battle, both physical and emotional, they reflect on the journey that brought them to this point. The clues, the betrayals, the allies, and the enemies who were always in plain sight but never fully revealed until now. As they stand face to face with the villain, there is no longer any question of right or wrong. It's simply survival. But even in the face of darkness, the main character knows they must press forward, no matter the cost. In an unexpected twist, the confrontation takes a shocking turn. The main character discovers that the betrayal they suffered, the one that cut them the deepest, was part of a much larger scheme, a scheme that was never meant to be uncovered. Every piece of evidence, every moment of doubt, now makes perfect sense in the light of this revelation. The villain, it turns out, had been one step ahead the entire time, manipulating everything from the shadows. But the main character is not without their own strengths. Through sheer determination and the courage they've built throughout the story, they fight back, both physically and mentally, refusing to let the villain's twisted plans come to fruition. As the final moments of the battle unfold, the main character confronts a heart-wrenching truth. The price of victory may be far higher than they ever imagined. The villain, now cornered, offers one last choice, an ultimatum that could either save the world or destroy it. The choice is theirs alone to make. The emotional weight of the decision is overwhelming. They can feel the lives of so many people hanging in the balance, the weight of the world pressing down on their shoulders. The choice is one of unimaginable consequence, but it must be made. The main character, now more resolute than ever, makes the choice. It's a decision that feels right, a decision that not only saves those they care about, but also ensures that the darkness they've uncovered will never threaten the world again. The villain is finally brought to justice, but the path to get there is littered with sacrifice. The world is saved, but it is forever changed. The main character, battered and bruised, stands alone, the weight of the journey heavy on their shoulders. The final moments are bittersweet, a mixture of relief and sorrow. The battle is over, but the scars of what has transpired will last. But even as the main character begins to process the aftermath, there is one final twist that leaves a lingering question. While the villain may have been defeated, the implications of their actions have only just begun to surface. The truth about the conspiracy has been revealed, but what does the future hold now that the truth is out in the open? The character reflects on the enormity of everything they've experienced, wondering what will come next. They've uncovered secrets that no one was ever supposed to know, and in doing so, they've changed the course of history. But there's still so much left unanswered. As the story comes to a close, the screen fades to black, and the audience is left with a haunting realization that some questions, no matter how much we wish for answers, will always remain unanswered. The main character, though victorious, will never be the same. They've walked through darkness and emerged stronger, but the weight of the truth they've uncovered is something that will forever stay with them, with the world, and the character's journey. Now at an uncertain crossroads, the story ends, but with the unmistakable hint that what we think we know may never be the full truth. There's always more beneath the surface, always another layer to uncover. The journey may have ended, but the consequences of the hidden truth will echo long into the future. Thank you for watching, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more stories of inner strength and resilience. Until next time, stay strong, stay brave, and never forget your worth.